Welcome. So happy to see you guys here today. We're talking about something that you need to know about. We are living in unprecedented times. We're living in a time where there is constant change everywhere in our personal lives as well as in our professional lives. And so it is imperative as a leader that you're able to quickly adapt and lead your teams to change and transformation as well. So, how do you actually do that? We're going to be talking about that today. It really is all about human centric leadership. It's about showing up as a human, as a person, and really thinking through how does this impact your team? How does this actually even impact yourself? Because that's going to be the defining question that helps you to maximize potential performance and profitability. Well, to help us to be able to become human centric leaders who are capable of I'm going to say quickly adapting and leading change and transformation, we have some questions to help you get started and really think about how do you show up for your team. We're going to be living next year. For those of us who actually make it, we're going to be living through some really, really interesting times. We have a number of things that are going on in the world that truly impact how your people actually feel on a day-to-day basis, right? So when you really think about it, there are things that are happening. We're talking about wars, and then we have the presidential election. So there are a number of things that are actually happening. You have, of course, AI, which is taking the world by storm. That really is I would say it's required for your team to be able to adjust and to adjust well, or they're going to be left behind. So how do you navigate those complexities? How do you make impactful decisions? And then also, how do you lead with excellence as well as with brilliance? That's what it's going to take for us to be able to win and for you to be able to create a winning team. And that's what you want to do. You want to be able to create a winning team. So we're going to embark today on excellence. We're going to embark today on excellence, leadership excellence. And that's what it really is all about. So let's get to it. I have some questions for you, and I want you to really think about this. How well do you lead? How well do you lead? And you may be wondering, what do you mean by how well do you lead? I'm asking the question, how well do you lead? Do you show up for your team? Do you support them? Do you ensure that they have the tools and the resources to be successful? Do you remove those barriers and even those hidden barriers that may actually stand in the way of your team moving to that next level? I want you to think about that. See, when we're talking about leadership excellence, we really are talking about not just being excellent as a leader, right? But it's really about competitive advantage, driving your organization forward, achieving those aggressive growth targets that your organization may actually have, and then leading the market. I like to say you need to be number one or number two in each and every market that you actually compete and serve. And so we're going to talk about that today. So first question is, how do you currently define and assess the culture within your organization? Great question. Here's the thing. I'm going to say I had this conversation the other day with a leader. Culture is not necessarily what hangs on the wall. That's not your culture. Your culture is actually what you do. What do you reward and what do you respond to? That's your culture at your organization. So we can have the values that hang on the wall that says we're accountable and we think and act like an owner, but do we really? Because if you don't think and act like an owner, and if you're not accountable, that's not your organizational culture. For some, the culture for the organization can be completely different from the culture for your particular team. As a leader, I want you to always think about what is the culture for the organization and what am I doing to support my team? What am I doing to support the culture for the organization to help us to get where we want to go? Next question. What role do I believe culture plays in driving innovation and adapting to change? It's key. It's key. Transformation and change happens because of innovation. If your culture is not supportive of that, then how can you have it? I can recall working on on teams where leaders shut me down. I got ready to say something, and it's you're shooting it down before you even understand what I'm saying, and it's not because I'm not clearly communicating. It's because you don't want to hear what I say, or you believe you have a better idea, and so you ask for ideas. but you don't allow people to fully share what it is they want to share and have an engaging conversation or a healthy debate. And with some leaders, whatever they think, that's going to be it. There's more than one way to do something. And there's very rarely a right way and a wrong way. It's your preferred way. And can your preferred way get in the way of change, of transformation, of really leading your organization, your team to be able to take those healthy risks that are needed? Do you overanalyze everything because you have to make sure that you don't make any mistakes and you get in your own way? That's something else to really kind of think and consider. So absolutely, culture is key. You got to have a culture that embraces risk taking. You have to have a culture where people feel free to step up, where they are psychologically safe. You have to have a culture in driving innovation. Rarely is it because of one person, right? It's going to take a team effort. And so how do you do that when your culture is uncollaborative, when your culture is unhealthy, when your culture is pretty much a dictatorship where it's toxic? And so we want to create healthy, high-performing listening cultures that foster an environment for innovation and transformation to take place. And it really starts with how the leader actually shows up. I have another question. Let's see, what role does leadership excellence mean to me, and how do I strive to embody that in my role? Leadership excellence is really about providing the capabilities for a winning team to be able to win. And so how do you really define that? That's how I define that. It's really the leader deciding that, hey, we're going to achieve this goal. I'm going to clearly communicate to you what we're going to do and what's expected so you can actually be successful and achieve your target, whatever that target may be. And so successful as a team, but also successful for the particular individual. And so with that, it's making sure that they have the tools, the resources, the support, the strategies, the information, the data that's needed for them to be able to do that. It's creating the environment for it to be able to happen and happen in a way that's greater than what I expect. That's leadership excellence. And it's also ensuring that you know how to put together a winning team. And some people are excellent at putting together the winning team, but I also want you to be excellent at keeping that team, not necessarily on your particular team, but within the organization if possible. So that means you are making connections, you're opening doors, you're brokering deals, you're removing roadblocks, you are asking great questions, you're creating dynamic leaders, you are making sure that, again, your people have what it is they need, you're streamlining and you're optimizing. All of that goes into leadership excellence. It's how you actually relate to your team. How do you position them? Do you trust them? Are you trustworthy? There's so many different principles that I believe truly go into leadership excellence. And how do you embody that? It's making a commitment that you are going to be an excellent leader day in and day out, that you're going to generate strong results day in and day out. It's having that winning mindset, and you go in with a plan and you understand that your plan can shift, because that's what it's about, being adaptable, right? So your plan can actually shift, and sometimes it will shift, but you don't leave your team not understanding what's actually happening and how quickly we need to move, how quickly we need to be able to respond. One of the things that truly concerns me, is when you take so long to do something as a team or as an individual because of whoever your leader is, that by the time you generate that or you deliver that to whoever you support or whoever needs that, it's obsolete. They can't use it. And so that's the thing, that leaders who are excellent at what they do, they understand what's happening. They're able to read the environment. They're able to see, here's the shifts that are coming. Here are the conversations that we need to be having. Here's what I need to do, what I need to tweak, what I need to change. And I'm listening. I'm listening to my manager. I'm listening to the leadership team. I'm listening to the board. I'm listening to what's happening in the world. I'm listening to what's going on in the industry, what my competition is actually doing. I am listening to see what is needed. And then I'm having the conversations that are necessary to be able to help us to win and play at a high level. That's what leadership excellence embodies to me. How do you approach strategic problem solving in your leadership role? How do I approach strategic problem solving? Well, I'm a natural problem solver, so that's kind of really interesting, because one of the things that I've had people to ask for a number of years is to sit down and to identify my approach. And it took me a long time to really kind of see what is my approach that leads to excellence and helps me to be able to solve problems and to solve them at a high level, where people refer to me as one of two things normally: a secret weapon or as a Navy SEAL when it comes to solving problems. And one of the core things, I won't give you the entire process, because I do have a framework that I use and I share with my teams to solve problems in organizations. And so I won't give you the entire framework, but what I will do is I will share with you a couple of things that I believe are absolutely essential to solving problems. Number one, when you realize that there is a problem, I want you to think, is this truly the problem that we should be solving? Or is there a bigger problem that we need to solve that's going to help us to answer this and something else? So what's the problem that needs to be solved? Or what's the problem that you're trying to solve, but also what's the problem that needs to be solved? That's key. It's understanding what's actually happening. And so that requires you to think deeply. It requires you to really think creatively and strategically, and to be able to do your research, right? And how do I actually attack this particular problem? The next thing I want you to do is that when you're thinking about that and you're identifying what's the problem that needs to be solved, I want you to ensure you have the right people in the room, and your customer has if your customer cannot be there, who is their representative? Who will always be the customer's voice? And it doesn't matter if it's an internal customer or if it's an external customer, who needs to be represented? And that's your customer. We don't solve problems in isolation. You solve problems with the lens of what's necessary for your customer. And you're asking really, really great questions. I think that's something that I would say is imperative and is necessary. You have to be able to ask thought-provoking questions. And not only are they thought-provoking, but they should be provocative. I want you to make people to stop. I want you to make them to really think, and to think deeply, and to truly pause. That's the power of a great question. That's the power of a great question that allows you to really begin to think about, how do you attack this problem? And you've got to be excellent at listening. You want to be dynamic at two things: listening and asking great questions. If you can do that, that's going to help you to solve the problem. So I'm going to say those are a couple of the principles that I always talk, and it can seem like they are very, I would say, surface level, but truly it takes skill to be able to do that and to be able to do simple things well. Next question. What challenges do I face when making decisions in a rapidly changing environment, and how do I overcome them? What challenges do I face when making decisions in a rapidly changing environment? I would say one of the most important challenges I face is understanding if this is still a problem that needs to be solved. Because if it's rapidly changing, do we need to solve this, or do we need to devote some of our time, our attention, and our resources to something else? Because when things are changing, you need to be able to understand what is priority. What's your priority? What's key? And so people who I support in my team, we will continuously talk about that. What's key? What do we have to do? What must be done? And that's going to help you to be able to quickly shift and adjust. Because this may have been priority today. Something else happens an hour from now. Oh, now that's no longer the priority. We need to shift and be able to quickly shift without becoming so upset and so frustrated that it gets in the way. So I would say that's one of the challenges, is just being able to stop and to ensure that people press pause to see, do we still need to be solving this? Do we still need to work on this? The other thing that I would say, another challenge when you are faced with making decisions in a rapidly changing environment, and how do you overcome it? It's really being able to center yourself. because you have to be able to ensure that there's calm, but there's also energy at the same time. So how do you ensure that you're calm? Because you're only as calm. If you're frustrated and frantic, your team is going to be frustrated and frantic too, right? And so how do you ensure that you are calm, that you maintain your sense of peace and you maintain your sense of calm? And that really goes to well-being. And that's imperative. And I'm going to tell you why. Because once your health is impacted, it impacts your team and so many other things as well when you're not feeling your best. And stress leads to so many other different diseases. It really is the silent killer. And so we have to be able to manage our stress well when things are rapidly changing. Now, I'm a person who I can quickly adapt. I love change. I've always been identified as a change champion. And so it's something that's natural for me, but I also have to recognize sometimes you're moving, you're doing things so fast. Things are coming at you so fast. And so you've got to be able to quickly do this and this at the same time, prioritize, balance, peace. What do you need to do? So you got to figure out what's going to work for you. This is really interesting because I didn't realize this, but it brings us to the next question. In what ways do you prioritize employee engagement and well-being in your leadership strategy? Well, it's again, I'm going to say one of the things I love is having fun. And so for me, when you're having fun, when you're liking the people you work with and you're enjoying what you actually do, man, it doesn't really seem like work, right? Because you like it and you're enjoying it. And so prioritizing employee engagement, and for me, that's just the productivity and well-being. It's really about, again, are you enjoying what you do? If not, let's figure out how you can actually enjoy it. What is it going to take for you to enjoy the work that you're doing and the impact that you have? That's one of the things. And then you got to have your time to play, have fun, and rest. You cannot do it all. So you have to learn how to say yes and yes. Let me ask you a question. And I say that because some people don't like saying no, or I can't do that, or I'm not comfortable with that. And so if you're not comfortable with that, that's okay. But it really is about, you have to pull back because people will give you as much as you can take. And unfortunately, when you're a high performer, they continue to stack on more because you're doing it and you're doing it well and you're making it look easy while you're juggling the balls in the air. So you have to be able to have some time away. One of the things that I love is that there was an organization I share with you guys a few sessions back, and they actually require their employees to take a break a week every quarter. Every quarter you have to take off. And so I'll encourage you as a leader to make sure that you're talking to your team about that. What did you do fun? What's going on in your life that you actually enjoy? What's interesting is that it seems like a simple question. And you may actually even tell your people, you don't have to answer the question, but I do want you to think about that. And I'll never forget, years ago, I was sitting in a therapist's office and we were sitting down and we were talking about all of the things that were going on in my life. And I love therapy. I just believe really is necessary for everyone to be healthy, happy, and whole. And so she asked me at that time, what's going on that makes you happy? What is it that you're truly enjoying? And I began to really think about that. Do I need to make any adjustments in my life? Am I allowing enough happiness and joy to come in so that I am not stressed out, that I am not reacting versus responding? And what I found was, I was reacting to some things instead of responding. So I knew I needed to slow down. I had to slow the pace down. And so I encourage people to do that as well. Can I share a successful initiative I've implemented to enhance employee satisfaction and productivity? That's interesting. So I have built at a number of organizations, wellness and well-being programs and campaigns. And when we were in the office, one of the best things that we would do is have dance-offs. And why was that great? I can't dance. But guess what? It didn't matter. I still led the dances the best that I could with the help of a couple of my colleagues. And what we found is that people began to enjoy it. And so the dancing wasn't really exercising, they felt. And then it progressed. I started to work out in the office. And I encouraged other people to work out as well. And so I would have people, we had a gym, I would have people who would join me at the gym in getting healthy. And then I went to another organization, and years later, and I found myself standing up a wellness program from the ground up. And one of the things we loved about that is it had so many different components, right? It was about holistic health. Today, one of the things that I do to help employees enhance employee satisfaction and productivity, it's really about having those strong, healthy conversations with people. Sometimes people need someone to talk to. They perhaps need someone who's like them. And so encouraging people to find their people internal to the organization. And I think that really drives a lot of satisfaction and productivity. Another thing that I love is mentoring programs, because people feel like they're growing and they feel like the organization is supporting them, and they're more productive because your mentor can help hold you accountable and help you track what you're doing and help you to get to where you want to be. And that alone, I believe, is crucial for helping people to really enjoy where they are and see that they are not stuck, that there really is a plan to help you to get to where you want to be. Let's see, I have time for a couple of more questions here. Let's see. What do I see as the most significant challenge and opportunity in the future of work, and how am I preparing for them? How are you preparing for them? One of the most significant challenges and opportunities. I'm going to talk on this just a little bit, but we're going to get more into this in January. I'm actually going to have a session that's all about the future of work and what's coming, what's happening, what's changing, and what you need to know. And of course, why, right? And so I would say one of the most significant challenges and opportunities in the future of work is learning how to use AI as a supplement within your organization. It should not be a tool, in my opinion, to replace your employees. But how do you use AI? How do you use that technology to enhance the way your people actually work? How do you use that technology to drive for innovation and transformation? So how can you actually use AI as a tool for you that enhances what you do so that you can be the number one, what do we say? The number one or the number two leader in each market that you serve. How can you use technology to be able to do that? That's going to be one of the most significant challenges and opportunities I see. Because what we have a tendency to do is to say, you know what, this tool, now we don't need these people. We can just put this information in. But again, remember, bad data in, bad data out. Somebody has to be able to use the tool effectively. And so that's going to be one of the most significant challenges. As everyone has access to the tool, right? What you're going to see is it still is not going to replace creativity, creative thinking. And so how do you get diverse teams together and allow them to use the tools in such a way that they can come up with something that's competitive, and then take that same thing, look at it through a lens of how quickly can we launch it and get it out there, but also come back to it and say, okay, now, how do we continuously improve this? That's going to be the key. And the organizations who can do that understand that they are well positioned to be sustainable. When we fail to adapt, and we fail to adapt quickly, we run the risk of extinction. We run the risk of not having a place for ourselves in our community. And so I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. That's going to be what I would say is one of the most significant challenges I believe that we're going to see, and one of our greatest opportunities at the same time. And so it's going to force us to level up how we actually lead. It's going to force us to level up what we actually deliver. It's going to force us to really think about what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and what we can do so much better. I'm Dr. Sherilyn. I am pleased to be able to help you to develop your leaders to lead with excellence, to become the number one or the number two leader in each market that you compete. If you would like to know more about leadership excellence and how you can use practical, actionable strategies and frameworks to be able to drive for innovation, to transform your team, and to accomplish more than you currently think, then I invite you to send me an email. All you have to do is send it at leadership@smpistrategies.com. That's leadership@smpistrategies.com. And I will be more than happy for someone from my team to get back with you. I'll see you guys back here. Actually, we're going to have some quick videos. So let me make this announcement as well. We will not have any more of these videos, our open office hour session. Almost forgot. We won't have any more open office hour sessions or the Q&A on Thursdays until next year. I will see you guys back here January 10th. Mark your calendars. We'll be back January 10th with an interesting series. And it's really about helping you to ensure that you start the year off right. See you back here January. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Take charge.